Hi there, it's real estate coach Josh Fagan and welcome to the next video in our series. And today we'll talk about what's your why. And you know, I kind of hated that when I first heard about it and I first thought about it, and it gets really confusing for a lot of people because they're like, well, what is my why and why am I doing all of this? Well, the reality of it is that work gives us meaning, and that meaning is really purpose. And when we have that level of purpose in our lives, we just love doing it. And now doing what I do today, I honestly don't feel like I've ever worked a day in my career, because like literally when you love what you do, people can really tell. The problem inside of real estate is that if we don't really know what we're doing because we don't have the systems yet, and we haven't got clarity about what it is that we want to go and achieve, then we're actually in a position of a state of flux of trying to work out how all of this stuff goes on and also trying to run a great life as well. And I would always get to the end of the year and I'd be in a position where I'd kind of, have a few hours just before New Year's Eve, and I'd be there going, oh wow, another year's gone by, what actually happened for me? And I started to get like really anxious and kind of like, oh my God, I'm not really achieving much. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna stop this. So what I did is I went and put in a system, because from our previous video, the only reason that you don't achieve a goal is because you don't have a system for it. So I thought, well, I'm over this level of anxiety that I get every New Year's Eve. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up my mobile phone, I'm going to build this thing called an achievements list. And every single time that something great happens to me, I'm just going to go into the mobile phone, I'm just going to write it out, I'm just going to put it in there. And we're going to go and call that an achievement. And every single Sunday when I'd go for a run, I'd be in a position where I'd look at the achievements list and I'd add a few more. And then by the time I got to the end of the year, I'd have like hundreds of achievements. And they could be little things, like taking my niece and nephew out, being in a position I might see some family members, might even be just like winning a really great client that I really loved working with. And you say, okay, great. So we start to get these achievements, and all of a sudden they would build and build and build. And then what I realized is that the more specific they became, the better they became. And I started thinking, okay, great. Now that I've got these achievements, why don't I use this as a base plate for the goals around what it actually is that I want to achieve next year? So I started writing these goals. I'm like, I didn't really like goals, and people were kind of a bit weird about goals, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to have some goals. So I started getting really specific. I want to put on an assistant, and I want to be in a position that I earn a certain amount of money in income. And then, I want to buy a house, so I want to save a certain amount as well in order to be able to go and do that. And rather than just saying, I want financial freedom, or I want to feel like less stressed, because none of that's actually really measurable, I started to get really specific about it. So, I want to save $100 a week, which turned into $500 a week, to I want to save $1,000 a week. And as your career progresses, you can save more per week. And I started realizing you'll really find out what success looks like when you actually put down exactly what it is that you want. And the more vivid that you are, the more specific, the better the outcome. You see, for me, a goal might be go to the gym, but that's not really what I want to do. It's just the process and getting to the outcome. So if you get really specific and say, I want to be in my ideal weight range between, 62 and 68 kilos, and I want to be like relatively flat, so I'm not in a position that I have a huge gut, and I want to feel fit, and I want to feel free, and I want to be able to move, and that's actually really awesome. So we get really clear about what it is that your why is. So is it more holidays? Well, you can't just say more holidays. You have to say, I want 8 weeks worth of annual leave a year. I'm going to take 4 weeks every year at Christmas, and then I'm going to take the other 4 weeks spread evenly throughout the year, maybe around Easter, maybe sometime around the June-July period, and maybe a little weekender, maybe around the Melbourne Cup. And then if I get really clear and specific, I can actually go home. You see, all relationship angst at home is created because there is a complete lack of alignment and clarity of the plan. So, okay, great. Well, honey, you know what? I'm going to be in a position that I'm available for 8 weeks a year for holidays, and the rest of the time I'm going to work. So don't be at me and complaining that we haven't had a holiday. Let's plan that. And what it actually forces is for you to work when you work and holiday when you holiday. When you start getting clarity about that, that's when things really start to shift. So what you start to realize is that the thing that happens is that if you don't get clarity about what it is that you want, then you end up being stuck in like this endless loop of unhappiness. And it's a really awful place to be, because you're so clouded that you don't really know what it is that you're striving for. And what you want to do is you want to start thinking, I want to build some momentum. And if I get clarity on my why, then things change. There's a guy by the name of Jim Collins, and he's a fascinating writer. He wrote a book, Great by Choice and Good to Great. And in one of those books, he spoke about something called the 20-mile march. And that's about marching 20 miles to go and do that every day. And if you do that every day, you get to a much better outcome. And I remember a year or two back, I was a recreational runner, so I wanted to run 1,000 Ks. It was fine. I got to December 23, And I had a quick look in my Nike running app and I'd run like 560 kilometers. Okay, that's cool. So now I only needed to run another 440 kilometers in the next 7 days. I was like, how did that happen? You see, I didn't really get clarity about breaking the goal down and thinking about what are the next steps. And so I thought, you know what, I'm not going to do that. So from this point forward, I'm just going to run 5K every business day. Maybe I can have a day off sometime in the week if I need it. That'll be 20 Ks in a week. Times that by 50 weeks, that'll be 1,000 Ks. And then all of a sudden, I got to October this year, and I was in a position that all of a sudden I'd smashed out the 1,000 Ks, and I still had all of October and November and December to go to actually hit the numbers like that are far greater than the goal I'd ever achieved. And so there's this real euphoric sense. There's like this chemical that goes off when you actually achieve a goal inside of your brain. You say, you know what, this is great, and it becomes really addictive. And you start realizing that whatever your why is, whether or not it's growing a great family, whether or not it's building a great business, whether or not it's serving more people in your community, whether or not it's just playing the game and learning how you can do more than what you did the year before, whether or not it's about being in a position that you actually just have that real sense of wholeness, that you look after self as you look after others, that's when things fundamentally shift. And those shifts are what we call breakthroughs. So in our next video, we're going to go and have a look at the breakthroughs. What are the things that we've learned over the course of the last 10 years, and specifically this year, that have been massive breakthroughs for our clients that can actually help you to turn your entire business around. So whatever it is that you're in pursuit of, we're going to make what feels like the impossible possible in our next video.